Pritchard. Any chance you're still there?
Jensen, my God. You've been offline for days. Where the hell are you?
I was hoping you'd tell me.
I'm pinging you now. You're in Singapore. Something's wrong, Jensen. I pinged you, and a second later I lost your GPL signal. It's like you disappeared into a black hole.
Gotta be a jammer.
Well, obviously. If you can find the transmitter and take it offline, I'll be able to track you. And keep you on a tighter leash.
I've got more important things to do than help you keep tabs on me. If Megan and her team are here, there's no time to waste.
How do you know? Walter told me you saw him talking to the Queen. I'm sure she was probably barking orders at him again. Looks like this show was packed with A-listers now. Question is, who's headlining?
Things will be a lot easier if Darrow was around. Anyway, I better get back to storage in case he decides to spring a surprise inspection on us.
Good idea.
Claire, spokeswoman for the WHO, confirmed that the cause of these disruptions has been linked to a major malfunction in the multi-channel peripheral nerve biochip, a device which transmits neural impulses directly to inorganic tissue.
Access granted. Access granted.
You must have done something, Jensen. 4 of our GPL signals just popped up, including yours. Koss, Colvin, Faraday. I'm not picking up Dr. Reed.
Send me the coordinates you do have. And Pritchard, tell Sarif.
I can't. While you were incommunicado, Mr. Darrow invited him, Bill Taggart, and the UN delegates to Panchea. They're halfway to the Arctic by now.
Great.
Access granted.
Recall on augmentation technology. For days, reports of temporary...
So here we're in the barracks in Omega Ranch, and what we tried to do here was try to retrofit the spec ops into this map, because they were supposed to be in the secret area of Bell Tower in Hengsha that we cut. We talked about it before.
Yeah, we talked a lot about how we wanted to get Bell Tower, how we had the Bell Tower in Upper Hengsha, and we wanted to hide all this information about Namir and his team so you could find it there. And when that got cut, we couldn't do it, so we had to try and find a way to retrofit it. And so that's kind of what this barracks, we put the barracks here at Omega Ranch, but then to hopefully get that information in.
We have a couple of texts, but
we have a couple emails around that refer to the spec ops and refer to and even I think there's something that tells about them in some of the computers, but we basically were running out of time again, and we just kind of ended up not really getting a chance to get them in, sadly.
However, we did get the sense and the feeling that there was pressure from the player. Like, when you get in, you actually feel that these guys are there, and you don't really know why they're there yet. So that did work out in our favor.
yeah, true.
A little bit.
Access granted. Access granted.
This is gonna be some kind of ghost story. You can save your breath, Lieutenant.
No, nothing like that, sir. They were saying they thought it had something to do with the plumbing. Should I take a look down there?
Not worth it. Probably just a valve that needs tightening.
What the hell was that?
Access granted. Access granted.
So now we're in the microgen lab, and actually as we get there, there's something different in terms of challenge, because if you have noticed by playing the game until now, most of the challenges are happening on the horizontal plane. And our lead level designer, René Martin Posé, really wanted us to change the pace a bit and try to go for a little bit more of the vertical plane challenges and everything. And that, with the art and the style of the slab, we could really take advantage of it and create one of the very few zones in the game that have some vertical gameplay.
Access granted. Access granted.
Adam? Adam Jensen? Good grief, lad. What the blazes happened to you?
I made the mistake of surviving. I'm here to get you out, Dr. Faraday.
I told Vasily that Seraph wouldn't stop looking.
Sevchenko's dead, Dr. Faraday. I'm sorry.
I figured as much. One day he was just gone, and they wouldn't say why. We were all afraid, so we just kept to the work. They forced me to create a signal pattern that could broadcast software upgrades directly into a person's implanted circuitry.
Upgrades? But do what?
Whatever instructions have been encoded into them. They said it was to improve efficiency at clinics, but that wouldn't be the only application. Far from it.
Really? What about Dr. Reed? Her GPL signal isn't broadcasting. Do you know where she is?
In the secured zone. You'll never get in there. Too many guards.
A distraction might encourage them to leave the area. Say, an incident in one of the labs.
A bold plan, my boy. But one small incident would never be enough.
No, you're right. But 3 simultaneous accidents might.
I like your style, son. And it just might work if you can get Nia and Eric to agree. But timing them to occur at once, that will be the trick.
I'll worry about the timing. For now, sit tight and wait for my signal.
There's one thing you're forgetting, lad. They can track our GPL signals.
I thought as much. But we have no choice.
There may be something. Vasily wanted to upload a virus onto their security network. Disable their GPL protocols. Eric or Nia might know more about it.
Any idea who's behind this, Doc? The kidnapping, the facility?
Not really. Remarkable considering I've been here 6 months. You would have thought someone would let something slip. But if it doesn't have to do with the research, you don't get a word out of them.
Sounds like the guards are well trained. But what kind of threats were needed to stop the other researchers from talking?
Well, there were threats early on just to get us to work. Of course, Vasily saw right through that. Kept saying they needed us. I suppose in his case, the risk outstripped the return at some point. Damn them.
Dr. Sevchenko probably knew the risks and accepted them.
That he did. Go on, lad. Let's put this plan of yours into action. It's time to teach these wankers a lesson.
Gotcha. Just be ready. When you feel your GPL vibrate, set off that distraction.
Understood, lad. But do be careful.
Access granted.
Get the hell out!
So the interesting acting bit here is the voice actress who plays Nia Colvin is actually the same actress who plays Dr. Markovic in the game. She's Lenny Parker, a very flexible and versatile actress, and she's actually got a bit of a fan following on her own because she was a major character, I believe, in the show Earth Final Conflict, and she still gets a lot of fan mail related to that. So.
Is it normal that I don't know that show?
They executed him and dumped his body
You're
in
just
a
not
ditch.
geeking enough.
That's not true.
Flexible
Unless
actress.
these nerds are so brainwashed, you don't mind building their toys.
It wasn't a toy. It was a software upgrade that limits functionalities in a biochip. They told me it was for crowd control. Is Vasily really dead? You saw the body?
What was left of it?
Oh my god. I should have listened to him.
Dr. Colvin, I need to free Megan Reed and get everyone else out of here. It means causing simultaneous accidents in 3 labs.
Declan and Eric. Of course. Interesting idea, Mr. Jensen. Ambitious, but risky. The timing will be critical.
I'll coordinate the attack. But you understand that this could all backfire.
I'm no shrinking violet, Mr. Jensen, but there may be another issue.
The GPL tracker, I know. I also know about the virus Dr. Sevchenko developed. The one meant to interfere with their security.
One step ahead. Just like Vasily. It's a good plan. However, I don't have the virus program. Perhaps you should check with Declan or Eric.
Dr. Colvin, I need to know I can trust you. You seemed pretty happy to be here until I told you about Dr. Sevchenko.
It's been 6 months, Mr. Jensen. Not long for you, perhaps, but how long can a person live in constant fear? Once they took us out of isolation, it just seemed easier to concentrate on the work.
Did all of you feel that way?
Vasily didn't. Maybe not Declan either, but the work we do here, the discussions, and the theories. I thought Seraph's projects were far-reaching, but the experiments I've seen going on here, it's the kind of stuff DARPA dreams up every day.
Only without governmental oversight keeping you in line.
I suppose I'm just a typical scientist to you, right, Mr. Jensen? Blindly pushing boundaries? No care for who's footing the bill or how our discoveries get made?
We all have to live with ourselves at the end of the day, Dr. Colvin.
You're right, of course. But were things so different in Detroit? We all know where those Seraph contracts came from, don't we? You asked me if you could trust me. You can. But you better get on with this.
I will. In the meantime, stay tuned for the signal. You'll feel a vibration in your GPL. That'll be the time to set off the distraction.
I'll be ready. And I'm sorry about what I said.
What do you want? I told you people not to barge in here. Wasn't the new biochip design enough?
Dr. Kars, I'm here to get you out.
Jensen? From Sarif? But we were told we'd been written off.
Not exactly.
Listen, Jensen. They forced me to work for them.
So this doctor, this scientist at Seraph is, again, another good voice actor story, because I'm not sure if you recognize this voice yet, but this is Alex Ivanovich, who also plays Ari Van Bruggen in the game. And again, also, you'll hear him later as some of the crazies in the Omega Ranch.
He's definitely one of my favorite characters. I'm glad Mary mentioned earlier that his role as Van Bruggen, we had a hard time casting that because, for me personally, I remember they wanted a Dutch accent, and I did a lot of research, and there wasn't, I don't want to offend any Dutch people, wasn't to say it wasn't interesting, but it wasn't, it didn't really allow us to have fun with the character and give him sort of like a bit of a quirky sort of side, and we liked that he was a hacker and everything, so we kind of said, okay, well, we can't really incorporate the Dutch accent in where it's working for us, so we gave him a bit of free rein, and we gave him, like Mary already mentioned, the Gary Oldman True Romance reference, and he came up with something that was totally original, and we really loved it. He did such an amazing job. My only disappointment is that we didn't have time on the character side to give him a unique character that suited the voice, and instead he ended up being kind of normal looking.
Yeah, and what I love in this is that this scientist is so meek and so, you really feel like my heart goes out to this guy. He's so scared, and he did such a great job. It
shows the range that he has.
But if we come back to those scientists like that, what also for me, like for at least for once, I mean, you have Pritchard that helps Jensen throughout the game, but it's more kind of a psychological help. And now getting the feeling that those scientists are kind of
taking a part
of what you have to do to save Megan and save them.
They're being proactive on saving themselves as opposed to help me, Adam.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
Say that.
It's more of a general feeling, I guess. Back in Detroit, we all realized that we were on the verge of something groundbreaking. And here, well, everyone seems to view her research as crucial in some way.
That might explain why she's being held in a secured area.
Possibly. I'm just glad we're going home. It's kind of hard to believe.
Stay put, Dr. Koss. Once I upload this virus, you'll have to do your part. When you feel a vibration from your GPL, that's the signal to set off the explosion.
I'll wait, Mr. Jensen. But hurry.
Pritchard, are you still tracking the scientists?
Of course.
Simulate feedback along that route. Make it strong enough to vibrate their implants. They have to feel it.
A signal, eh? Not bad, Jensen. I'm sending it now.
Here is the introduction to the Namir boss fight. Actually, we had to manage to get two versions working because depending in the Hengsha 2, if you went for the chip recall or not, whether you lose your augmentations or you keep them for the battle. And actually, the idea of losing all our augmentations for that boss fight was quite debated in the team. Like, it was a bold move.
It was a very bold move to basically strip the player from at least half of his experience in the game and force him to use, to be clever about the weapons, and just run around as much as he could survive, whether to just use a cloak or any augmentations he's accumulated over the playthrough.
And also for you, as you were balancing the experience, the gameplay, it was tough because you had to make it like interesting if you have your augmentations, but if you don't have augmentations, it still need to be playable.
Yeah, well, it was always we knew the idea of the choice and consequence was always there, that if you don't have your augmentations, it was part of the player's choice. I mean, whether you knew it or not, it was still a discussion we had that if he had the augmentations, the combat would be much easier, and that's the point of augmentations. Whereas if you go with the non-augmentation, the challenge is there that you have to sort of survive as a bare human being. That's pretty much what happens depending on the choice you make.
How does it feel, Jensen? No. Behind you, Jensen. A nice trick, but it's your turn. You cannot escape me! How can a man be so lost? So stubborn. You should have given up this chase long ago. Do I sense desperation? Come closer, Jensen! I have a surprise for you. You cannot escape me!
Come closer, Jensen.
Look at you, jumping at shadows like a scared child. You lost a good man. I should have taken a hand after that.
Come closer, Jensen. I have a surprise.
Finish it. Not until you tell me where Megan is.
You've lost her, Jensen. Men like us, we never get back the things we love.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this amazing game that is the SX Human Revolution.
If you're just joining us,
if you are just joining us, well, we want to say hi to each and every single one of you. If you've been here for about 40 hours, well, you know who we are. Okay, so this room is pretty interesting because the concept of this room with Namir being kind of like somebody who's got his skin ripped off and all the other statues and everything in it is one of the earliest ideas we've actually had in the project. It goes all the way back to like May or early June 2007. We had the exhibition here in Montreal from the human body thing.
Bodies.
What's the name of the artist we used to know back in the days? Anyway, I forgot about him, about his name, that is. But anyway, so we said, one of our concept artists, Thierry, Baron Thierry, designed this guy that was fully augmented, and the augmentations looked like they were muscles, And we said, hey, this is pretty damn cool, let's keep it. Let's design an enemy that's its entire body is like that. It's fully mechanical. Only his head remains a human head. And then because of the exhibition in Montreal, we said, hey, what about he's actually kind of camouflaging himself
within an exhibition just like that, and let's play with this. And this is one of the ideas that stayed the entire course of the development until where we actually had to produce this. So that's pretty cool.
That was one of the main challenge we had to actually. The first question was how to replace the statue with Namir and to mimic the animations and stuff.
Yeah.
And what would happen with the statue, and does it come back after, or the holograms, all these crazy things. So that was a bit of a challenge in that aspect.
An interesting little bit of fact, the statues, not Namir, but the other statues, but Namir also, I'll get back to this. We had their penises modeled on them, right? And we had to take them out. Yeah. Because obviously we're not mature enough, people who play games and whatnot. When we see penises, we oh my god, we might go on a killing spree.
If we offend someone,
we're really sorry. And what's cool about Namir is not that we took it out. It's purposely his penis is not there. He probably removes it before combat or something like that. Yeah.
While talking about removing things, Namir went through a lot of changes as well. We used to have him like jump on the sides of the room. There are big pillars, and he was supposed to jump from one to the other with a sniper rifle and shoot the laser rifle, I think, and shoot you with it. And we could never get it to work properly. It was very confusing, and the player could not actually understand what was going on. So we decided to actually have him run around faster, cloak, and jump over the railings. Well, it's not railings, but so that was very interesting as well.
Also, he had kind of a nano whip, like in Johnny Mnemonic, where you could grab Jensen and pull him back towards him. And with your gun, you had the gameplay to try to shoot at it so he could release you. And if not, he was doing a takedown on you.
It's exactly it was a bit of a punishment, but that was kind of cool. I think. Well, it's so cool.
So here it's one of the two versions of the cutscene where we meet back with Megan Reid. It depends if you went for the chip recolor or not, so it plays out a little bit differently. But that was a very, very difficult cutscene to make because it was at that point with all the twists or the intrigues of the game, of the story were coming together, and now we were going into the final stage of closing the story. And
when you're dealing with the story, it's like everything is coming to a head, and there's a lot of information that is coming together at this point. And when we were first working out the story and working out the blueprint, I kept saying, guys, there's too much information. There's too many story beats that are being revealed in this scene. We're revealing the truth about Meg, and we're revealing the truth about Adam's DNA and how it's been used, and we're ultimately revealing who the true villain is in this piece. And it's an awful lot of to communicate, and I just felt like we need to separate it. We need to have gameplay that separates those points.
And I remember you were the one pushing for it quite a lot, and I still wanted you to pull this off because now we were to invent gameplay that didn't necessarily exist, or we didn't plan for anything, and it would have forced us to do filler stuff just to pace the information a little bit more.
Yeah, so it was something. I mean, I have to admit, I was raising my objections from day one. I was raising it in story meetings. I was raising it in blueprint meetings. But ultimately, what was coming down was, we have to get it all told in this because we can't stretch the maps. We can't stretch the gameplay.
So from a creative standpoint, you were totally right. That was the wrong approach. But as we had to cut mini maps, and as we had to really close the deal with some of the game aspects and everything, it was the right call to make from a very, I would say, rational standpoint.
And actually, it was good we did it that early because most likely would have had to cut all that gameplay that I thought was needed anyway, and then I would have had to rework the story. But at least this point, I knew up front we got to make the scene work. Somehow, we have to make it work, and we did what we could.
Yeah.
You never said anything about this.
I'm going back for the scientists.
No, Adam! I know the complex better than you. I'll find them. There's a hangar bay through there. Get to its control room and retract the roof. Clear a path for us.
So here we're in what we call the White Room. In the game, this was a pretty tricky room to nail down for different reasons, because this represents really well when you want to do something that people have a really hard time envisioning in their heads, where you're like, I want this room white. They're like, okay, you want the walls white? No, I want everything white, as if someone walked in with a paint gun and just like sprayed white over everything. And people just were really reluctant to do it, if you remember, Jeff. And we were really pressing on, like, no,
because people were saying that it wouldn't look good.
Yeah, a lot of people said it wouldn't look good, and we had to use a few little tricks, like tech tricks that we weren't using in the game at all. And basically, we were just like, we want it, just like figure a way to do it, and it ended up working out really, really well.
This room is gorgeous.
This room is gorgeous. It worked really well with marketing as well as a publicity for the game. And what's a little funny anecdote? One of the marketing artists, when he was like working, on classifying all the screenshots for marketing.
Jensen, what the hell's going on out there? Broadcast frequencies are going haywire.
Malik, is that you? Where are you?
Coming into visual range of Singapore now. Been in the air since Pritchard first pinged you.
Good timing. I'm heading for a hangar bay to open the roof. I'll need an emergency extraction.
Roger that. I'm on my way.
Marketing. He comes up to me and he shows me this room, that the screenshot of that room that I had taken, and he's like, this room is obviously not finished. There's no textures. All I see is the normal maps. And I'm like, no, this is it. It's textures. Like, no.
Hey, Jensen! Looks like you could use some help!
I'm like, yeah. If you look at the leather, you can see there's leather texture. If you look everything, the tile, look.
I see the scientist, Jensen. I'm landing nearby. And I think Dr. Reed wants to speak to you. Hang on.
Like ceramic, whatever. It's just that all is white. And he's like, okay, when he's giving me this weird look, goes back to his desk, and then I get this little messenger message, and he's like, but.
Hello? Adam? We're all fine, but you have to get to Panchaea and stop Hugh.
You and I aren't done with this, Megan.
I know how it looks, but you have to stop.
Seriously, the textures are not there. Like, you thought I was joking, and I'm like, no, this is it.
This is the room.
So this is what the game is in a lot of ways. It's just making these weird things that had never been done before.
And what is fun about this room actually really break the pace in the game, because as John covered it very often, we try to be as original as possible, but still we try to stay grounded in this kind of alternate reality. But with this room, we really went the extra mile to really break the expectations and bring it beyond what a player could expect. And definitely it's the kind of room that will stick in your head for a long time.
So one of the interesting points about the emails, yet again in this game, is that we really wanted to accomplish so much with it in Omega Ranch. We wanted to bring the Spec Ops in and reveal things, but by the time we got to it, we were so behind that we just kind of lost a lot of our intentions. But and we had to bring in some of the other level designers to help us with this. And I remember reading this one email from one of these level designers that made absolutely no sense to me, and I couldn't understand it. It was all about Hangar 18.
Yeah, actually it was that. Like, it was Bruce, one of our narrative designer on the team, that came to me one day, like, said, we are in a hangar and stuff, and well, could I reference it to Hangar 18 from Megadeth? And I was like, well, why not, and everything. And he showed me what he had written. And it was subtle enough that you have to know Megadeth, but it was, and everything. But it was clear enough that it would make sense if you knew the band.
How does it relate to Megadeth as opposed to relating to the real Hangar 18? What are the signs that you know it's Megadeth and it's not like the real?
It was like, I can't remember what the man was referring to, but it
was Hangar 18.
It was Hangar 18, but
because Megadeth is referencing the real Hangar 18.
Yes, exactly.
So
but
you understand what I mean?
Yeah, but that was referencing to the song, and it was signed by Dave One.
Oh, there you go. Okay, Dave
exactly.
One would explain it.
Yeah, but Mary, she came to me and one day and this doesn't make sense at all and everything. And I said, yeah, you run that by me, you run that by me, and it totally makes sense. It's cool. You can go with it.
And I think Mary's, a lot of the people on the team who like heavy metal understood that and got it.
Yeah.
So that was one of the joys of working in a very diverse team.
Yep.
Automated systems online. Darrow Sequence 1, Code 1, 1A, preset and ready to engage. Suborbital trajectory plotted. Destination, Panchaea. Begin countdown, Mr. Darrow.
Begin countdown.
Code 000. Confirm 0. Countdown commencing.
So to continue on the comment of the yellow shuttle and going into space, what was really exciting for me is that I really wanted players to be able to see the Earth and everything. And actually, that sequence was supposed to be
Slightly playable.
Slightly playable. You were supposed to be in first person in the cockpit and be able to look around through all the windows and see different sections of the Earth and everything. And as we produced a first version of it that was not playable, was just in cutscene, we didn't see the Earth really. And because we have constraint in time in producing it, and I was like, no, the whole point is to really have a glimpse of the Earth. We need to see it and everything.
I'm cutting you also to say that he's wearing a helmet in the trailer.
Yeah, and now he's reckless. Yeah. and finally, like, we managed to show a bit more of the Earth. And now we were closing the deal on the Icarus myth, like in the actual myth. Icarus falls into the sea, and this is what's happening.
That was the entire idea.
Yeah.
Jensen, can you read me?
Barely. I've reached Panchaea, Pritchard. Any word from Sarah for the UN delegates?
Nothing. The installation went into lockdown shortly after Darrow gave his speech. I can't tell if anyone's even alive. And the signal's still broadcasting.
Meaning no one's safe till I get in there and shut it down.
You'll have to disengage the lockdown first. Look for a master control panel at the top of the tower.
Enter combat.
Pritchard, Panchea's broadcast center is at the base of the station near the bottom of the ocean. Is that right?
But the lockdown caused all the blast doors to seal. You won't be able to go down until you override them manually.
From up in the tower. I got it.
Here, if you look by the window, you can see all the icebergs on the ocean, and that's what is funny about that is, as when we develop a game, we always go with layers. As you build the geometry, then like you can move around, and eventually a first pass of visuals. But it takes a long time before you get to the end, and probably my fear came back from conception time, where the first concept art for Panchea, we said we're in 2027, so the global warming has increased much more, so there's a lot of meltdown of the icebergs and stuff. And the first concept art about Panchea, there was no iceberg on it, and I went to John and saying, yes, it's melting down, but we need to have a little bit more. And he added, but after that, as we were building the map, icebergs were still not there, but because we weren't not there yet.
Well, it's because they had melted in the meantime.
Yeah, in the meantime, because it took us 4 years. So. But I was constantly reviewing the map, like looking by the window. I want my icebergs. I want the icebergs there and everything. And after a while, the guys, especially John, they were tired of me, like with my icebergs. And as soon as I was coming in the room for this, and there are going to be icebergs even before I mentioned it. And eventually they got there, and I could really relax and be happy.
But it was just the tip of the iceberg.
I don't think you want to do that, Mr. Jensen. Disengage lockdown, and whatever demons this station contains are likely to come crashing out on us.
Afraid to die, Darrow? Or just unwilling to face what you've done?
Oh, I know what I've done, believe me. I take no pleasure in it.
And yet you still did it.
I did what had to be done. 20 years ago, I gave the world augmentation technology. I thought I was giving it a bright future, but instead I gave it the means to destroy itself. No law, no UN regulation was going to fix that.
People are dying out there. Hundreds of thousands of people driven to the brink of insanity because of you.
I had to convince the world. Before today, people believed we should steal fire from the gods and redesign human nature. Human nature is the only thing we have that gives us a moral compass and the social skills we need to live in peace. Destroy it, and you destroy our very species.
Don't paint yourself a savior in this. What you're doing is insane.
Is it? When this is done, the Illuminati won't be able to control men and women like you as they had planned, from the inside out. No one will be able to use the technology I invented to make others into beings they desire. Something we both know has happened already.
You think think you're Frankenstein, killing his own monster.
Actually, Mr. Jensen, I prefer to think of myself as Daedalus, watching helplessly as his child crashes into the sea.
I'm ending this. Now.
You can't. The signal is being generated from the broadcast center at the base of this facility. Panchea's security system has been programmed to protect it, and will kill you before you even get close.
You designed that system, Darrow. You can tell me how to shut it down.
But I won't. You think what I'm doing is extreme. You simply don't understand. For humanity to survive beyond this century, it must abandon ill-conceived notions about transcendence and embrace change. But for that to happen, the hard lesson must be learned. Blood must be shed.
What you're doing is horrific. It has to stop. You can't force people to change. They have to do it on their own, or they'll end up resenting you for it. And doing it like this? My God, Darrow, it's insane.
It is not insane, Mr. Jensen. Tragic, yes. Unavoidable? No. History has shown us again and again that the human race is hidebound and governed by inertia. As a society, as a species, the only way to elicit any kind of reaction from it is through an act of tragedy, a horrible cataclysm. I regret what I have been forced to do, but given what I know about mankind and the dangers facing us, this was the only viable choice.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong. None of it matters, because this is what will happen now. After today, whatever you say will be dismissed as the ravings of a mass murderer. You were one of the greatest minds of our time, and tomorrow you'll be nothing but a killer.
Ravings of a mass murderer? When the truth is revealed, when people know why I did this, surely they will understand. It was my genius that created the technology, my vision that seduced Zarif and Zhao and all the others who now feed off of it. They seek to stand on the shoulders of my research without comprehending the danger that people like you pose to mankind. I am the only one with the perspective, the insight, to know what is needed.
You know, I've always wondered about that leg brace of yours. Why the father of augmentation doesn't have the most basic of implants. Doesn't make much sense, really. Unless he's one of the few people genetically incompatible with this technology. Gotta love the irony in that. It's the kind of irony that can tear you up inside, bit by bit, every day, until you find yourself despising what you're not.
How dare you? You think I've done all this because a fluke of nature robbed me of my chance to become a part of it? I tried everything, damn you! Everything I could think of to change! None of it worked! None of it!
So you had to fix it, didn't you? Take back control, make it like it never was.
Yes! Yes, that's exactly what What have I done?
Give me the codes, Darrow. Help me stop this.
You'll still be in danger. Panchea's security system, much of it is self-determining and lethal. But if you succeed, if these codes help you turn off the system and reach the broadcast center, tell the world exactly why I did it. Explain to them about the Illuminati, the biochip, Panchea. Help them understand that the technology I created will not be a future any one of us desires.
Richard, the lockdown's disengaged. I'm heading back to the hangar to see if those blast doors are open. Have you been able to raise anyone?
I'm picking up several glimmers, but there's too much interference. I think you're on your own, Jensen.
Careful there, Francis. You almost sound like you regret that.
Stay away! Die, you monster! Just get away from me! They ruined me! The bastard! Don't run! It'll be easier if you come out. I don't want to have to do this! I can't hear anything with all the noise. The noise! The noise! The noise! You'll never get me! You I have to do it so loud. I'll shut you up. Come closer. Get away. Get away. Don't you see? I need for you to understand. Closer! Come closer! We can't control them anymore! Run! Run! Please when I need to see them? Please come out. I have to do what you tell me.
So I actually had an awful lot of fun writing the Hyron project emails that you find in here, because the concept that we had was, of course, that any kind of email that's been generated about a security code, we should have it be generated by this Hyron computer that's in the basement of this facility, in the very, very depths of the facility. And so the whole concept that this computer was actually part human, and these poor women who had been attached to this against their will. And so it was actually fun every time I would do that to write emails that kind of sound very computer-esque, and yet at the very end have this eerie human statement about remember me, or life is sad, or all this stuff. And it added, for me, I had a lot of fun doing it. It added a lot, and all of the codes for all of the that the computer had to generate were often, the codes were the names of the women who had been kidnapped, and the their dying statement as the password. So that was
sad.
kind of wild as you sit there and look through all those computers.
You seem relatively normal, nicht wahr?
All things considered, yeah. You okay?
Thankfully, I was able to barricade myself in here when things got out of control. So, is it safe to come out now?
No. The rest of the station is still under siege. You better stay here until help comes. In the meantime, is it possible to download Praxis software here?
Yes, of course. No damage was done to the computers. See for yourself. I will remain here, where it's safe. If you need help, or get word of help, please come back.
This is William Taggart. If anyone out there is listening, I'm begging you, help. We've barricaded ourselves inside the core server room. Many of us are wounded. Please, save us. Please, save us.
Don't run. It'll be much easier this way. Get away! Get away! Ah! Don't! Just let me be. Get away! Get away! Stop running! I've got to do this! Go away, Ghost! Go away! Go! You don't scare me! Fuck you! We can't control them anymore! Go away, Ghost! No! You won't get! You won't get me! No! Don't! Stop moving! Stop! It's in my head. I know it is. There. You'll never get me. Get away!
Access granted. Access granted.
Mr. Jensen, how ironic that you should be the one to save us from the monsters out there.
Monsters, Taggart? You mean people? Augmented people who've lost all control, lost their reason.
Isn't that supposed to be my line? Unfortunately, it seems your esteemed Mr. Darrow decided to appropriate my point and turn it back on me. In madness and in blood. He has betrayed us all.
So you finally admit it. You are part of this, after all. You have been all along.
It would be pointless to deny anything now, but despite what you think of us, we never wanted augmentations outlawed. All we've ever sought is regulation. Rules governing how the technology is developed and laws that ensure it's used for the good of society.
You've raised society above humanity. So who gets to make those rules?
Men with wisdom, strength, and tenacity to know what's right. Proven leaders who distinguish themselves like you, Mr. Jensen. You've certainly earned the right to be one of us. All you have to do is take it.
I'm not looking for glory, Taggart.
Just remember that without control, there's no room for freedom, only anarchy. You were a policeman once. You know the importance of order.
I know there's a difference between order and slavery.
The biochip wasn't supposed to force people to do anything. It merely limited powers so that people couldn't go on killing sprees like the ones taking place right now.
Amazing how well that worked out.
Say what you will, but I know that some part of you agrees with me. Absolute freedom is no different than absolute chaos. Society needs boundaries if it has any hope of surviving. And you, Mr. Jensen, can be the one to give us that hope. Shut down Darrow's signal. Then help me get a message out saying that an accident at VersaLife contaminated the world's neuropozyne supply.
VersaLife? And what if I decided to blame the Illuminati?
The Illuminati is just a name to get rich financiers to invest more money. Besides, do you really think the world will believe in some 18th century conspiracy theory? Do this for us, and you'll ensure a future for mankind, all of mankind, augmented or otherwise. The future Hugh Darrow offers doesn't allow for both.
Let me think about it.
survivors here. We've locked ourselves in a machine room. Please! Help us!
You'll never get me! Who's there? What's there?
Adam! Oh, thank God you came. I've got wounded here. We'll have to move them first.
We can't move anyone yet. Not until I get to the base of the station and shut down Darrow's broadcast.
What? Why?
The chaos you experienced here, it's everywhere. The Illuminati created a biochip that stops people from using enhanced abilities, and Darrow turned it into a kill switch.
Oh my God, you... We gotta fix this, Adam. If people realize what's happened, if they believe augmentation technology created this chaos, they'll ban human enhancement research forever.
And that would be a bad thing?
Yes, it would! Don't you see what's at stake here? Ever since man first crawled out of that ocean, we've been striving to be more than we are. Augmentation technology is just the latest, greatest step on a very long road. But we've barely scratched the surface of its potential. We can't let fear stop us from continuing.
That's your belief, Seraph. Not everyone shares it.
But you do, Adam. I know it. And if we work together, we can really make a difference. We can improve the lives of everyone, but only if we fix this.
Go on.
We'd have to get a message out after you shut down Hugh's signal. Tell the world, tell them the Humanity Front did this. That their doctors created a virus that only affects augmented people.
You mean lie?
It'll give us time, son. Time to figure out how to destroy the Illuminati's biochips and move on.
And what about the people who've been hurt by this? Don't they deserve the truth?
Adam. If we want the freedom to become more than we are, we can't be blinded by a misguided morality. Some people will be left behind. It's reality. It's evolution, son.
Right. Evolution based on my DNA.
Please, son, you have to stay with me on this.
I'll think about it.
Here's what we call the Star Wars bridge, because it's kind of like reminiscing of these huge environments that you see in Star Wars, especially in the
Dead Star.
In the early ones, the Dead Star, and probably also the Cloud City and stuff like that. There's huge cylinders with like a little bridge and stuff like that. The idea here, I think, could have been implemented a bit better, but the idea is that we're actually between like the walls of Panchea, the actual rim of the cylinders. We are inside this rim. It's almost as if the early parts of the level were on the exterior part of the walls, and then we need to take a bridge that crosses that wall that brings us into the hollow part of the cylinder to take the big elevator that's going to bring us down. So the idea was to understand that every like gigantic engineering feat, like such as Panchea, or like a big dam or something like that, you can actually go inside the structure. Like literally, it's hollow inside. It's not just pure concrete. And there's major installations, bridges, stairs, pipes, like for maintenance, and that's kind of where you're at in that section. So it's pretty cool. If you look left, if you look right, you see that it just keeps on going really far, and it starts curving because it follows obviously the curve of the circle. So it's a pretty neat place.
And that bridge also, a lot of players went into like, oh, I cannot continue to play stealth, but actually you can continue to play stealth. Like even though there's a throng of crazies, sorry Mary, that are out there. If you're really patient and you really think it through and use all the tools you have, you can really go past them without being noticed.
You can go under the bridge, right?
Yeah.
So you can go down and there's like, on the side or something like that. Yeah.
So that's the big elevator scene where we actually go technically at the bottom of the ocean, and
that was something quite important to us.
And what we wanted to do at first, it was to put the flags of the countries today fighting for the Arctic Pole and everything.
Oh, at the bottom.
At the bottom, which we didn't do.
Because that's the idea, that the cylinder literally goes to the bottom of the Arctic Ocean, and there is a real thing where Canada and Russia are actually in the real world fighting to know that place belongs to who, and actually put their flags there.
And we wanted to put that there.
To be like, that's exactly where the thing is where the flags are at.
But if we come back to the elevator itself, like what we wanted to do is, it was this massive thing where you just absorb this whole infrastructure as you go down. It was tough to
Yeah, we had some trouble with this elevator. In fact, because we have to be sure the timing during the descent is not too long, and during this descent, the visibility of the round itself,
the structure.
The structure must be artistically correct.
Yeah.
And finally, we did more. We did some tests for this. We had very quickly a solution for the rendering part, but we encountered some trouble with the physics system itself, because when we found the speed of the elevator, we have trouble, for example, with the jump. when you jump during the descent of the elevator, when you touch down after that, the elevator itself, you were killed. So,
because it had to move quite fast, actually.
Yeah, it was going down so fast that basically, if you jumped, it ended up like being a huge drop back to the thing. Yeah.
So it was after that a discussion with game director, etc., to be sure. Can we just lock the character during the descent? The answer was yes. So
we can move around.
We move around.
We can move.
We killed a jump feature for
exactly.
that.
Yes, exactly.
And I remember one of our big challenge was making sure that it feels big, that it goes down for quite a long time, but at the same time not too long, you know. But because if it went down too fast, it would feel like the tube was really short. And
the second issue with that, finally, it was the bonding areas because the elevator was opened.
Yeah.
So if you jump, you can jump over the well. So you can be killed again.
Yeah.
So and because there's no gameplay really in this, it's just a big showcase.
It's a big feeling.
Yes.
Yeah. It was just to absorb something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this was a good decision for this. So we can focus only on the art part finally.
Yeah, and I remember we wanted to have a lot more like things exploding and like because of all the stuff that happened in Pencha and smoke. There was a bit, but I remember we had things we wanted to have those big pipes.
Exactly. And finally, all the stuff was at the original scale. For this part was the original scale. It's not really
we had few compromises to do, but we managed to pull off for the feeling we wanted for that scene. Yeah.
Some part was matte painting directly on the structure to manage correctly the feeling of the structure, and sometimes some closer part were directly classic model and texture.
Modeled and stuff. Well, if you remember the comment I had with the hacker scene where I was telling the cinematic director that he couldn't use guns, actually this is the only cutscene in the game where he managed to convince me to make Jensen use a gun because he was able to justify it with the dead people. It was taken on the ground and he throws it away before the end of the cutscene. So
we actually had to write it into the cutscene for it that he would find the dead body and find the gun.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what I remember about this particular room is the concept for the Hiram project was originally much bigger. It was supposed to be men and women who were being kind of attached to this computer, and that this entire room would be something reminiscent for me of the Matrix with all the pods and all that. But in the end, I think for production reasons, it ended up getting cut down to just being, the three women at the base. And I'm sure there are other Hiram projects within the confines of this station as well, but here's the center core.
From the audio side, this was probably the most challenging map that we had to work with. Numerous reasons. There's a lot of things I love about it. I remember giving the guys the request saying for the drones, I really wanted what I call the poltergeist effect. If you go back to the movie Poltergeist where she's trapped in the TV and it's almost, they call it a reverse delay where you hear this voice coming in and then the real voice comes in. I knew right away I wanted that type of effect for the drones. And managing one of the guys on my team, Yoann Boudreau, I think he lost a year of sleep just trying to get this scene to work because there were so many technical problems with the way it had been constructed. It was constructed so it would work, but without audio in mind, and then he had to find about 100 different workarounds. And there's so many sounds going on. Zhao, talking, the turrets going around. Pretty much just so much sound to manage, and he had a really hard time, and I got to give him a lot of credit. Like, getting this map to kind of work and not sound like just a huge mess was amazing.
And the other interesting audio trick we did was the women's voices. We actually had two different women doing the Hiram voices, one of whom does all the computers in the game, and the other one actually plays Megan Reed.
Alpha pod security in place. To access Alpha pod, purge tertiary pods.
I was going to alter the signal. Once I do, the Council will welcome me with open arms. No! Protect Mother! Stay away! Stay away! Madman is here. Why does he want to kill us? Kill him.
Vengeance, sir. Keep your head.
Alpha pod security in place. To access Alpha pod, purge tertiary pods.
I must be the one to alter the signal. Once I do, the Council will welcome me with open arms. No! Protect Mother! Stay away! Stay away! Madman is here. Why does he want to kill us? Kill him. You have been better served keeping your head down, Johnson. I'll do it, Mother. Don't hurt him. No more pain. Please keep him away from us. Security measures are sufficient. Insufficient. Once the weight of these gaze touches you, there is no escape. Hydrostatic pressure rising. Can't breathe. It hurts. It hurts so much. Systems are. My organic systems under stress will acclimatize. Do you see where honor and ambition lead you? To a hole miles deep in the ocean, about to meet your end. And powerless. Look at what they've done. I don't like it here. I don't like it. It's so cool down here. Dirk, show us the light, Mother. Where's the light? I must fight this. I must succeed. I can't move. Why can't I move? No. I want to be Mother. I want to go home.
Error in system.
Iron is weakening.
Rerouting. Error in system. Rerouting connection. Reroute complete.
After this, Tyone will dominate the market. Sorrow will no longer be a thorn in my side. I hate you, Mother!
Results of the diagnostics are...
Alpha pod security in place. To access Alpha pod, purge tertiary pods.
I must be the one to alter the signal. Once I do, the Council will welcome me with open arms. No! Protect Mother! Stay away! Stay away!
your head down,
I'll do it, Mother. Just don't hurt anymore. Just no more pain. Please keep him away from us. Security measures are sufficient. Insufficient.
Once the weight of their gaze touches you, there is no escape.
Hydrostatic pressure rising. Can't breathe. It hurts. It hurts so much. Systems are. My organic systems under stress will acclimatize.
Do you see where honor and ambition lead you? To a hole miles deep in the ocean, about to meet your end. And power.
Manual override of tertiary pods initiated. Total system purge in effect. Shutting down tertiary stations. Warning. Electrical charge subcritical and rising. Electric discharge sequence initialized.
Where did you get that code? From that fool, Daryl. This will not stop me, Jensen. It's happening. Harriet is compromised. No, wait. It's initiating the protocol. You don't know the resources they have at their disposal. You have been in over your head the whole time. Initiate dissipation protocol.
Warning. Electrical charge subcritical and rising. Halfway to discharge sequence.
Damn me, Daryl. You betrayed them.
Warning. Primary pod compromised. Secondary security measures activated. Evacuate area.
You still cannot reach There are so many diseases still in the system. You and I have both.
So with this cutscene, we spent a lot of time because we really wanted to make sure that in the explosion, Jensen gets hurt. Because we had a different idea for the ending. We wanted to actually have it be more playable with the player feeling Jensen being hurt and struggling and affecting the emotion. And not just pressing buttons. So we really had to make him get hurt in this cutscene. But all for naught, because ultimately we ended up kind of cutting that ending plan.
Exactly.
Didn't we? Oh well.
Hello, Adam.
So this is the very final room of the game, so it's very important for us to have a memorable room, something that you would that would kind of like, you know, stay in your mind after you're done playing the game. So we kind of wanted to bring back a lot of the visual themes of the game, the black and gold, the weird, like the weirdness of some of the architecture and the art installation and all that. And it started as a as a very, might I say, kind of basic kind of control room at the beginning. You know, it was like this kind of technical, kind of grayish computer room, and then we just said, you know, that's going to be just way too ordinary, and we transformed it into this this crazy Tetris-like thing that I think worked out pretty well.
It works really well, and like we alluded in our last comment, like our goal has never been to just simply be pushing buttons here. Like it was all about working when Sarif was asking something, when Taggart was asking for something else, and doing those things would open and trigger kind of those endings. But like we said earlier, we had to cut and make things simpler, so we knew that by pushing the buttons it would be kind of feel cheap and some players would be disappointed, but it was that or not having endings at all, so we had to make those kind of, like I would say, necessary decisions that were not the creative ideas behind
our original intention.
Exactly. And also with and as you go into the final cutscenes, you might like them, you might not like them, but actually for us it was more to give the endings in the players' hands, in the sense that what do you really think is going to happen with your decision, like how do you believe that humankind is going to be able to pull that off and everything. And the cutscenes themselves are there to illustrate the pattern of human beings, like what they did in the past, what they're doing today, and where do you think they're going, and if it fits with what you envision for.
And it's kind of there to show you that, you know, science fiction is always commenting on reality in a safe place, but it's actually reflecting reality. And we wanted at this point with these ending cutscenes to say, hey, all this time you've been playing a game, but the issues are very real, and look, it's in our own history.
And that's exactly why we chose to go with live footage, because it's almost as if you can see a bit the game as almost as a dream, like in the sense that it's a stylized version of reality, yet dealing with very real themes, like you're saying, Mary. But then at the end, we thought about it. Do we go with CGI? Do we, you know? And then we said, hey, how about we go with real life footage? Because now we're showing you the results of what you experience in the game, but what it does in real life. So let's go with live footage. And I know some people weren't too keen on that once the game came out, but this is something that I'm adamant about, that I really think was the right choice.
Exactly.
I'm really happy with it. Yeah.
Because to me too, it was like those endings are going to be, you love them or you hate them.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that.
But they won't leave you indifferent.
Yeah.
And that was our goal. So those endings are very polarizing, and I think in the end it achieved what we wanted. But I want to add one more thing, like as you'll watch them probably in a couple of seconds, the original footage, we had more shocking imagery that was included, and for some reasons, editorial reasons, we had to.
If you do this, the unadulterated truth in Darrow's confession may well convince mankind to cast all science and technology aside, to ensure that future generations grow up free and whole. Are you sure this is your choice? So be it then.
To rearrange them to make them, I would say, more politically correct. And I'm happy, like I wasn't happy when I had to do that, but I was happy how we managed to maintain the heart of the essence of the message. We didn't compromise on that. So hope you enjoyed this commentary. It's probably the last comment you will hear, or like
not
because if you go in the room on the other side, there's another comment. So,
that's true.
Regardless, like hope you enjoyed it and you had fun to learn about a little bit more about the SX Human Revolution. So.
Fundamentally improve
Peace.
who we are.
See you.
Experience has shown me how dangerous that can be. How many times in the Call of Duty did I almost fall into the trap of taking shortcuts, abusing my abilities or the resources at hand? I resisted. Barely at times, because I valued human lives and considerations. Can I truly despise others who fall? Technology offers us strength. Strength enables dominance, and dominance paves the way for abuse. Darrow understood this. He knew that using technology to become something more than we are risks losing our ability to love, aspire, or make moral choices. The very things that make us human. It also risks giving some men the power to make others what they choose, regardless of the cost to human dignity. The suffering Darrow inflicted is not the end of the world. It is merely the seed for change. And change never comes without pain.
If you do this, the focus of hatred may shift to those responsible for unleashing biological warfare, leaving corporations free to experiment with human evolution. Are you sure this is your choice? So be it then.
Sarif was right about one thing. It's in our nature to want to rise above our limits. Think about it. We were cold, so we harnessed fire. We were weak, so we invented tools. Every time we met an obstacle, we used creativity and ingenuity to overcome it. The cycle is inevitable. But will the outcome always be good? I guess that will depend on how we approach it. These past few months, I was challenged many times. But more often than not, didn't I try to keep morality in mind, knowing that my actions didn't have to harm others? Time and time again, didn't I resist the urge to abuse power and resources simply to achieve my goals more swiftly? In the past, we've had to compensate for weaknesses, finding quick solutions that only benefit a few. But what if we never need to feel weak or morally conflicted again? What if the path Sarif wants us to take enables us to hold on to higher values with more stability? One thing is obvious. For the first time in history, we have a chance to steal fire from the gods. To turn away from it now, to stop pursuing a future in which technology and biology combine, leading to the promise of a singularity, would mean to deny the very essence of who we are. No doubt the road to get there will be bumpy, hurting some people along the way. But won't achieving the dream be worth it? We can become the gods we've always been striving to be. We might as well get good at it.
Hello.
It would...
You might have... If you do this, first-hand experience with corporate negligence on such a grand scale may convince mankind to enact harsh restrictions on human enhancement research. Are you sure this is your choice? So be it then.
Freedom. To those who don't have it, it's more valuable than gold. But where should it start and end? We humans often think we have the right to expand, absorb, convert, or possess anything we need to reach our dreams. But time and time again, hasn't this led to conflicts with others who essentially believe the same thing? Looking back on the challenges I faced, at the way I often resolve them, I realize morality can become our saving grace. Most of the time, didn't I try to keep my values in mind, knowing how my actions would affect others? More often than not, I resisted the urge to abuse power and resources simply to reach my goals more swiftly. I managed to hang on to my humanity, but the temptation to ignore it was always there. It's that temptation that so worries Taggart. He's not afraid of freedom. He's afraid of the chaos that erupts when individuals have nothing but morality to constrain them. He wants us to regulate enhancement technologies because he fears all that power without limits, without guide rails to keep us from abusing it. Absolute freedom is no better than chaos. Society needs laws and regulations to protect it. So if the men and women behind Taggart need to work in the shadows, pulling strings to enable us to head in a safe direction, will supporting them be all that bad? If they're as wise as Taggart says, how bad will their leadership be? I just hope they stand by what they say.
Hello.
Tag.
Of course. No.
Here on this corridor, this is where you can go for the player choice, where you just try to sync the Panchea facility. Like we said in an earlier comment, like in the outro of the Iron Project cutscenes, where you see Jensen being thrown to the wall, it was our way to make sure that Jensen would be injured and like still alive, but really struggling, because our original intention was to have the player play Jensen like crawling on wounded and on the floor and getting to there, and as he would go to there, if the other characters like Sarif, Taggart and Darrow would be alive, they would go in the info link and go like, Jensen, what are you doing? Like, no, don't do this. And also Eliza as an hologram was supposed to walk with you and accompany you through that choice, and the goal was to make it so that deciding to put an end to all of this and maybe alluding to will Jensen survive this as well or not was something that was super important. It's a big decision, and we wanted to make it last and have this feeling at the other people trying to pull you in the other direction to make that choice even more weighty, more substantial, etc. But in the end,
all good intentions.
Yeah, and it would have been amazing to see Jensen, well, to see the camera struggling so much, like feeling that he struggles, and seeing Eliza, like all kind of calm walking, it would have been a really nice contrast.
Yeah. But,
maybe they'll get it right in the movie.
So again, like if that is the last comment you listen to, hope you enjoyed this commentary.
Thank you for listening to us chat.
See you soon.
And I'll go watch the movie.
If you do this, the world will be left with questions and may never reach a consensus. Are you sure this is your choice? We have little time left, Adam. And might I say, it has been a pleasure.
Do I trust mankind to save itself? That's what Eliza was asking. The truth is, I don't know. After everything I've seen, all the fighting and the chaos around me, I only know what I want to believe. Somehow, human decency will triumph. These past few months, I've faced many life-threatening situations. I could have given up many times, but my need to know the truth, to uncover the secrets that others were hiding, and to survive forced me to keep on going. Most of the time, I tried to keep my values in mind, knowing my actions did not have to harm others. I held on to my humanity, resisting the urge to abuse power or resources in order to meet my goals. And in the end, I got the job done. But does this mean I have the right to choose for everyone? No. Because it isn't up to me. It isn't up to Darrow, Sarif, or Taggart either. Ordinary men and women will have to decide together what course mankind should take. The kind of people who time and time again have picked and chosen the future in highly practical ways, slowing change when it's negative, speeding it up when it's good. Can they do it again? I don't know. But I do know I'm not about to let anyone in this station, myself included, stand in their way.
You worry too much, Morgan. There's nothing we can't manage given time. She's here. I have to cut this short. Keep going through the wreckage. Maybe we'll find something we can use for the Morpheus initiative. Come in. Dr. Reed. We're so pleased you decided to join us.
Where else could I go?
No regrets, my dear. As Ariadne told Theseus before he entered the Minotaur's labyrinth, always forward, never left or right. You'll be very interested in our current project. We're breaking new ground.
Yes, the nanite virus chimera is quite intriguing. I'm looking forward to seeing the hybrid project up close, Mr. Page.
And so you shall. But please, call me Bob.